The house is more than 170 years old and built by convicts. It was settled in 1831. The house itself was possibly finished about 3 or 4 years later. It was part of a grant allocated to a British officer called William Caswell, who emigrated with his wife Susan in 1829, waited for 1 year in Sydney for the governor to make up his mind where to send him, and then was sent to what was Port Stephens. And mind you, this was at a time when Nelson Bay didn't even exist, so this was a very, very lonely house here for many, many years. From being an officer in the Navy, poor William Caswell suddenly became a farmer, and battling drought and too much rain and aborigines, etc., etc. This here was an orchard and a vineyard. Surprising enough, a vineyard where they sold wines. The family originally was only 2 children. Susan, who was born a Miss Hoddle, and her brother Robert Hoddle was responsible for planning Melbourne. And the 2 children that came with them were Emily and William Jr. 9 other children were born in New South Wales. Of the 11 children altogether, 2 boys died in the house. The isolation must have been terrible, particularly for the women, because men sort of did blokey things like riding around and shooting rabbits or something. Oh no, rabbits weren't here. shooting whatever was here, maybe kangaroos. But women stayed at home and battled unruly servants and tried to bring up their children. The house remained in the Caswell family till late 19th century, 1897 to be exact. Our family came here in 1960, leased the house first, and as it had a demolition order, it was owned by a developer, we bought the house, and one of the members of our family have been here ever since. The letters that were written by the mother Susan and daughter Emily, the letters were written to Emily's godmother in London, and they give you an excellent description of what life was like here, because people tend to romanticize early history, but it wasn't romantic at all. It was very, very harsh. This ghost is very famous, and probably more famous than the house itself, and her name is Elizabeth Gray. She was a governess who taught the children. However, she wasn't very popular, judging by the letters. And while she was waiting for her fiancé to take her back to England, she died. And they say she died of typhoid. Whether that's correct or not, I don't know. She's buried to the left of the waterfront. There is talk that she does appear at the doorway, looking out onto the sea, waiting for her lover to appear. This is about 16, 17 years ago, when I assumed that the figure standing at the doorway was my daughter, but it wasn't. It was some apparition, and I think I was sober that night.